Max Holloway, a household name in the MMA community. It feels like Max has been around forever, but in 2024, he's still in his prime at 32 years old. Max has had one of the most impressive MMA careers ever. He had two very prominent MMA fighters that caused him a lot of heartache and trouble. Two fighters we all know, but in the most unlikely manner, Max got his revenge. This is the story of Max Holloway. Max was born in Hawaii and grew up in quite a rough home, with his parents struggling with addiction and cases of domestic violence, which makes me respect him even more, to be honest. This childhood experience shaped Max into the man he is today, knowing he wanted something different and better out of his life. He started kickboxing in 2007 and graduated high school in 2010. His first two professional fights he won with a unanimous decision and a KO in round 1. Max then got the opportunity to fight for a title and got scheduled versus Harris Sarmiento, his first big shot. Max won the lightweight title on X1 in a 5-rounder split decision win against Harris. He had one more fight on UFC 4 versus Eddie Rincon and won that as well, leaving him with a 4-0 professional record before the age of 20. And along came the UFC.
Why not pay Hawaii, Max Blessed Holloway?
A young, charismatic and energetic guy that's basically still in his teens, on a win streak, scheduled to fight Dustin Poirier at UFC 143. Dustin at this time had a record of 11 wins and 1 loss, which is just amazing. This was scheduled as one of the prelim fights, and it's quite insane to look back and think that these two massive MMA names were fighting on the prelims. The fight started off aggressive and fast, which is to be expected from these two fighters. About 2 minutes into the fight, Dustin took down Max, and then just over 3 minutes into the fight, Max got submitted, causing his first professional MMA loss. What a tough moment that must have been for a 20-year-old. Dustin dominated on the ground, and you could really see the massive disappointment on Max's face afterwards. A promising MMA superstar losing his debut fight in the UFC. But Max would be back. Dustin and Max would meet again under very different circumstances. The next 3 UFC fights in a row he won back to back. He then lost a split decision against Dennis Bermudez and then got scheduled to fight one of the biggest MMA stars in history.
Who the is that guy? Who the is that? No damn well.
Max was 21 years old at the time and Conor 25. Max had a 7-2 record and Conor at 13-2. This really was Conor's prime years, and Max lost via a unanimous decision. But losses just does not seem to keep this 20-year-old kid back at all. After losing to Conor, Max went on a massive win streak. 13 fights in a row he won. In 2016, 4 years after he joined the UFC, he got his first title shot against Anthony Pettis at UFC 206. After 3 grueling rounds, Max Holloway knocked out Anthony Pettis and became a first-time UFC champion. He became the superstar that everyone thought he would become. But Max's story does not stop there, not even close. He defended the belt 3 times in a row against Jose Aldo and Brian Ortega. What would happen next would be Max's hardest challenge yet. In 2019, he's the Featherweight Champion and on a massive 13-fight win streak, and he would get the opportunity of a lifetime. becoming a double champion. Khabib was just suspended because of his brawl with Conor, and the lightweight title was open. The UFC thus set up a fight for the interim lightweight title, and Max would go up a weight class for this opportunity, and you would never guess who his opponent will be. None other than Dustin Poirier, his nemesis, the man who caused Max his first MMA loss 7 years ago. This time Max was ready for a war, ready for revenge. 5 grueling rounds. And the winner is Dustin the Diamond Poirier by unanimous decision. What a massive disappointment for Max. So close to being double champ, but just out of reach. And it seems like Dustin Poirier is the man that's standing in his way every single time. Max defended his featherweight title one more time after losing to Dustin against Frankie Edgar at UFC 240. Then everything would change. The rise of a new star. Alexander Volkanovski. He was starting to pose a threat to Max's reign, his new nemesis. In December of 2019, Max was scheduled to defend his featherweight title against Volkanovski at UFC 245. Volk at this time was 31 years old with a record of 20 wins and only 1 loss. And he still had hair, by the way. Max was 28 years old with a record of 21 wins and 4 losses. Also absolutely amazing. After 5 rounds, the judges unanimously confirmed that Volk had won the fight. Max Holloway has just lost his featherweight title at UFC 245. Max then took a break for about 5 to 6 months and got a rematch against Alexander Volkanovski. And this time it went better. But sadly, Max still lost to a split decision. It was clear that Volkanovski was on a roll and Max was not going to stop him anytime soon. In 2021, Max fought 2 fights and won both. In this time, Volk also defended his title twice against Brian Ortega and Chan Sang Young. Then, at UFC 276 in July of 2022, Max got another shot at winning his old featherweight title back. This would be the 3rd time that they would fight. After 5 rounds, the judges once again determined Volk unanimously won the fight. 3 times in a row, Max had lost against Volkanovski. This nemesis is worse than Dustin Poirier for Max Holloway. Out of his 7 losses, 5 of those losses have come from just 2 guys, Dustin Poirier and Alexander Volkanovski. This has to have some type of mental effect on you. But man, Max Holloway never stops. After his last loss to Volkanovski, he fought Arnold Allen, unanimously won that fight. A few months later, in August of 2023, he fought Chan Sang Young, KO'd him in round 3. This guy is an absolute superstar and no one can deny it. What would happen next is something that no one expected. In July of 2023, Dustin Poirier fought Justin Gaethje for the BMF title and won by KO in the 2nd round. Max Holloway's first arch nemesis was knocked out by Justin Gaethje. What chance would Max Holloway stand against Gaethje if Max could not even beat Dustin? Well, never count out Max Holloway. At probably one of the top 3 biggest UFC events to date, UFC 300, Max Holloway was scheduled to fight Justin Gaethje for the BMF belt. And most of you know the story. They went so hard at it for 5 rounds, and at 4 minutes 59 seconds of round 5, with 1 second left, Max Holloway knocks out Justin Gaethje to win the BMF belt. Personally, I've never seen a better fight than this. It was absolutely amazing. Max Holloway finally had his revenge in the most spectacular and unexpected manner by being the baddest mother effer of all time. And at UFC 308, he gets his chance again at the featherweight title, fighting Ilia Topuria, who recently won none other than his 2nd nemesis, Alexander Volkanovski. If he wins this fight, this would probably go down as one of the best careers in the UFC history. We're rooting for you, Max. You're a legend. Go get him.